Hi witches! So today we are going to chat about the next upcoming holiday on the Wheel of the Year. I'm so excited. These are some of my favorite videos to make. So if you are catching me for the first time, welcome. And this is going to be a fun one. So the upcoming holiday is called Lunasah or Lammas. Now let's pronounce that together again really quick because I think it's really important to learn the pronunciations of these holidays. Now, I really want to shout out a patron and follower of mine, Lily May, who is from Ireland and really helped me with the pronunciation of these Irish words. And I think it's really important to pronounce these things properly. So again, Lunasah, where the emphasis is really on that syllable. So in modern Irish, actually, because I looked up the spelling, you'll see that sometimes there is an accent over that U, which just means that you put more emphasis on that. So thank you again, Lily May, and your amazing family for helping me pronounce these words. Again, that is Lunasah, and the other name for this holiday is Lammas. The word Lammas actually refers to a Christian holiday that just so happens conveniently to celebrate bread and just so happens to kind of fall on or around the same day as this kind of ancient pagan grain harvesting festival that is Lunasah. Lunasah occurs on August 1st in the Northern Hemisphere, or February 1st in the Southern Hemisphere, and falls halfway between the summer solstice and the fall equinox. So we are like right there, right? It is kind of the ending of summer and the beginning of fall. And this holiday really celebrates the first harvest of the year, the grain harvest. So a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today are focused around agriculture, grain, bread, and kind of the things that go into harvesting either our intentions that we set earlier in the year or physically harvesting in our gardens, perhaps. To give this holiday a little bit more historical context, I think it's good to remember like how important grain was to ancient people. I mean, ancient farmers worked tirelessly throughout the year, getting their fields ready to plant seeds, planting the seeds, growing the plants. So all of this was done in order to make sure that their families didn't starve during the winter. So they needed this grain in order to bake their bread that would get them through the winter time, the cold times when there wasn't an abundance of food, right? So it wasn't like it is now where we can just like go to the grocery store and just be like, oh, I want sesame bagels instead of plain bagels this week. Like it was like, no, we have to go out to the field, get the grain, crush it up, mill it, I guess, into flour. I'm not exactly sure all of the mechanics of bread making. Fortunately, I'm not super educated on like ancient milling practices, but it is definitely something I could learn if I wanted to. But it was really important that this first harvest, these first grains were harvested in order to bake bread and prepare for the winter. So making sure that they have enough to survive in the winter time. And because grain and the harvest was so essential to these ancient people, I personally like to dedicate a bit of time during the harvest holidays, so that would be Lunasah, Mabon, and Samhain, to ancestor work. I think you guys will find that ancestor work is going to become kind of a topic that's a little bit more prevalent during this time anyways, as we start to prepare for the colder part of the year. This holiday is not just about harvest though. There is some mythology linked to it, which is very cool. The festival itself is actually named after the god Lugh, who was very prevalent in Irish and Scottish mythology, as well as the mythology of the Isle of Man. So he is this very prominent figure who is kind of seen as this righteous king. He was very skilled in crafts as well as fighting. Lugh is a very interesting figure in Irish mythology. He is referenced specifically in the Book of Invasions, as well as the Cavalcade of Cooley, and I believe the Fenian cycle as well, briefly. I think he's like mentioned throughout, right? Lunasah is a celebration of this god Lugh, and one of the ways in which ancient people did this was to have the Taletian games, and I am 100% saying that incorrectly. I am so sorry. I have been trying so much. I apologize sincerely, but these games comprised of events very similar to what you would have found in maybe like the Olympics. So again, I'm not drawing necessarily comparisons, but there were events such as sword fighting, archery, wrestling, horse racing, stuff like that. So typical like ancient people's games. There was also feasting, dancing, trading, people would get married. So it was just like a really fun festival. And so because of this association with this god Lugh, who was kind of like, again, this very skilled warrior craftsperson, he was just like all around really awesome. And I am boiling this down a lot for this video, so I do apologize on that. And because of its association with this regal god Lugh, it was a traditional time for crafts, festivals, and for skilled artisans to kind of sell their wares before the winter time. So again, a lot of preparation for winter, preparation for harvest. As you guys know, practicing witch super love talking about witchcraft and ritual and ceremony and stuff. So I thought I would share some ideas for how you can celebrate this holiday, which again is coming up on Monday, August 1st. So first, let's jump into some of the energies of Lunasah. Energies such as prosperity, gratitude, and thankfulness, which are going to be a big theme in the next like 3 holidays, basically. It is a celebration of the first harvest. It is kind of a return to the hearth. And it is really focused on some of the, like, starting to manifest some of the goals that you might have set earlier in the year. So it's a good time to check in with yourself and see where you are on your journey. Do things need to be tweaked? Have you learned some lessons? Like, what has happened so far this year, and what would you like to do in the meantime while the weather is still warm to prepare yourself for the darker months ahead? I know not all witches can practice openly, so one of my favorite methods of practicing discreetly is to employ color magic. So by wearing certain colors, we can attract in certain energies or give off certain energies perhaps. And colors that are associated with Lunasah include red, orange, yellow, dark green, dark purples, black and white, and then gold. So if you wanted to maybe incorporate some of those colors into your wardrobe that day, just to, you know, celebrate just for yourself perhaps, I think that is a great way to honor the holiday. And honestly, if that is all you want to do for this holiday, if that is all that you feel you are capable of doing, just know that is perfectly fine. So I tend to put like a lot of time and energy and effort into these celebrations because I have the luxury of being able to, and I want to. So if you don't have the luxury of energy or time or the ability to practice openly, it's cool. You do not have to have a practice like mine in order to be a legitimate witch. And I like to remind people of that as often as possible. So you're doing great. Don't compare yourself to other people. You're walking a beautiful path. So don't worry about it. Now, for my green witches, we are of course going to talk about some associated herbs and crystals. So let's start off with the herbs. Now, grains of any kind are going to be very prevalent or an important symbol for this holiday. So again, we're talking about the first harvest of grains to make bread. So anything like wheat, I would even say like rice, barley, whatever, you know, I want to include my gluten-free girlies, but all of that kind of stuff is prevalent and also wonderful to include in any sort of working that you're going to be doing for Lunasah. So grain in general, fantastic. You can use it in your spell work, you can eat some, live your truth, I don't know. We have grain in general. I also wanted to like specifically mention corn. So like corn husks are used a lot as decor for Lunasah. Oak, sunflowers, herbs that are associated with the element of fire, rosemary, garlic, spicy peppers, cinnamon, etc. Apples, meat, and honey are really great to include, as well as stuff like roses, marigold, tomatoes, and kind of those end of summer vegetables. So you can use that in cooking or in spell or whatever you want to do with that. I encourage you guys to be creative. So for my crystal witches, I recommend using any sort of gold, yellow, or red stone, such as citrine, carnelian, garnet, tiger's eye, clear quartz, anything that is really going to amplify kind of this creative atmosphere that is very inherent with Lunasah. So again, we're talking about craftsmanship, we're talking about creating things, baking things, beginning to reap what we have sown for ourselves this year. So hopefully it's good things. Hopefully we are like reaping and manifesting the intentions that we put out there. Hopefully the intentions that we put out there during Ostara or perhaps Imbolc even are starting to manifest for you. That would be awesome, and that's all I hope for you guys. Some other symbols associated with Lunasah include the spear, which is the choice weapon of Lugh the Long Arm. So he has this really awesome magical spear. Very cool. Other symbols include the sun, fire or bonfires, festivals or craft fairs, fields of grain or corn, corn dollies, which are made out of corn husks, scythes or tools that are used to harvest. So maybe like similar to how we blessed our garden tools during Imbolc or Ostara. You might want to bless your harvesting tools around this time, so there's that. Again, mead or honey as well as bees are very much associated with this holiday. I know not all witches are necessarily Celtic pagans, so if you did have other deities that you wanted to honor during this holiday, I would absolutely encourage you to do so. You might want to specifically honor deities that are associated with like earth or nature, agriculture specifically, as well as craftsmanship, the hearth, creativity, festivity, anything that is associated with sort of the themes of Lunasah. But if you are going to kind of venerate some of these other deities, I would also maybe just recommend lighting a candle for Lugh. It is his day. So just out of respect, but of course, if that is not part of your practice, I'm not going to impart my beliefs upon you. So, let's talk about other ways that you can celebrate this holiday. Number one, having a bonfire. It is a Celtic fire festival, and what would a Celtic fire festival be without a fire? So having a bonfire or even just lighting a candle, again, that kind of like reflects in the energy of this time of year as well as the themes of this holiday. So you're thinking about like those fires of creation, or creativity perhaps, the fires that light the forge for us to be wonderful craftsmen. You might want to make corn husk dollies, which there are different patterns online, so you can totally look them up. They're like little corn husk dolls that people make. I am terrible at it, so I choose not to, but some people do put like a piece of paper with a bad habit or something that they would like to release in the darker part of the year. They'll write it down, put it inside the dolly, kind of bind it up, and then throw the dolly into the Lunasah fire in order to rid themselves of this in the coming, trying times. So if you have a bad habit or something that you're trying to shake, maybe making a poppet out of a corn dolly and using that as a way to cleanse yourself of negative energies. Very on brand for this. Something a little bit less flammable, perhaps consider doing a initial harvest, even if it's just a few cuttings from one of your plants, or starting to harvest those like late summer vegetables that are ready. Next on my list is sure to make all of the kitchen witches super happy, but that is to bake a loaf of bread. Now it can be banana bread, it can be a beautiful croissant, I don't know, whatever you want to make, but I really do encourage you guys to maybe try to find a family recipe or find a recipe that you really like, maybe a type of bread that you've always wanted to try or something that you know you like, but have never baked before, and maybe that could be the basis of a new tradition for Lunasahs moving forward. With this holiday being so focused on craftsmanship, this is a really great time to either pick up a new hobby that you're going to explore during like the fall and winter, or maybe just finishing up some projects that you have in the works. I am going to be having kind of a craft night over on TikTok, like a live craft night. So if you guys wanted to join that, we're just like, I'm like, hey, bring a craft that you want to work on, come hang out. We're gonna have some, like, I'm gonna bring some snacks, and we'll just like listen to music and work on crafts and talk about witchy stuff, and I'm gonna prepare a couple little prayers, but it's gonna be a little bit more casual and more of like a hangout and like a community gathering rather than like this formal ritual thing. Next, if you are feeling up to it, I do recommend going to a Renaissance festival. Maybe you can go the weekend before, the weekend after. I know they tend to be on weekends, but there are tons of really cool like pagan things that you can find there. There's mead, revelry, and it's a festival kind of like the ones that ancient people might have had. Not really, obviously it's a Renaissance festival, it's a modern recreation of medieval stereotypes, but I think the action of going to a festival and celebrating kind of like the harvest is a really cool idea. So if you can go to a Renaissance festival, consider it. When it comes to ritual work, I really recommend doing work surrounding prosperity, protection, good fortune, completion of goals, anything that you feel you want to kind of like tie up loose ends for as we start to enter into the darker part of the year. And then finally, just go out and enjoy nature. I know it might be really, really hot, like brutally hot, but I have like experienced a couple really nice mornings as well as like whenever it thunderstorms, oh my god. I know it might be unbearably hot for some people, thank you global warming and corporations, but I just encourage you to go out into nature and enjoy what you can. Maybe doing some cleanup of hiking trails, or just going out and acknowledging and honoring the land. Whatever you feel called to do on Lunasah, I encourage you to do so. So that is my little spiel for today. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. I know it was a little bit of a longer one, but I super appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.